This is Geek Gab with your hosts, Dornall and me, Daddy Warpig. We are back. Geek Gab for Monday, April 7th, 2025. Today we're going to be talking about Pantheon, an AMC anime original series that has recently been licensed to Netflix to try and earn some more money for its parent network. We're also going to be doing some news about D&D and the Bro SR and whatever else comes up in the discussion. So let's see. I can't think of any big entertainment news.
We do have some sad news. I just remembered this. I'm sure you heard the news from a couple of days ago. The great actor Val Kilmer just passed away.
Oh, that's right. Val Kilmer is gone. That was sad. That genuinely made me sad. I loved him in so many of the things he did.
He's an excellent actor. Sort of everything that you want in a leading man. You know, he was handsome and he had perfect comedic timing. Top Secret is one of my all-time favorite comedies, and of course he could do great dramatic roles. For example, stealing the show in Tombstone.
Oh yeah, Doc Holliday was fabulous. He was great
Yeah.
as Iceman in Top Gun. Mad Mardigan in Willow, and even the Saint. He did a great job in the Saint, even though the movie didn't do so well. He was great in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm just glad he got a chance to come back when they did Top Gun Maverick and show up in the role and do some good work there. That was absolutely, it was a great chance to sort of, I mean, it was a send-off for the character, but it was also kind of a send-off for Val Kilmer. It was the last really huge movie he was in, and I'm pretty sure that's what most people will remember his last movie as being, even though it wasn't.
It's just a shame that that what happened to him, that he was at the top of his game and then he just got sick and disappeared from Hollywood. But I was also glad to see him show up at Top Gun. They really did well by him.
Yeah. So rest in peace, Val Kilmer. You brought a lot of joy into a lot of people's hearts, and you will genuinely be missed.
Yeah.
Robert McGinnis, who is an illustrator who did so many book covers and all the James Bond posters that people remember from the 60s and 70s. That was all Robert McGinnis's work, like Dr. No and Thunderball and all of those classic James Bond posters. That was his works. He also passed away this week. Just an absolute master of the art form. He really knew how to capture beauty on the page and danger and action. He was a fabulous illustrator. So another sad, and he was doing work. He was painting things up until his death. He was still working on things. So
Wow, rest in peace.
Just a great man. Sad to see him go. Tron Ares dropped a teaser trailer this week. It's coming out in October. I I want to be excited for it, but it's coming out of Disney. It's the same Disney that gave us Snow White and Wish and all of these other really bad movies. And uh, I just
Yeah, that's Disney's rep now.
I
It's
want it to be good, but I just am I'm just not really hopeful.
no.
Um Actually, there was a lot of trailers dropped this week. Tom Cruise dropped a trailer for the last Mission Impossible, which is coming out in May. Um, but he dropped that I think yesterday. I haven't watched it yet. I've been too busy to track it down. This is a heavy weekend for me. It's the Latter Day Saint General Conference. So we have it every 6 months where we have um, two 2 hour sessions on Saturday and Sunday, uh, where we listen to or can listen to talks by general authorities and other people. So it is, uh,
Busy.
yeah, it's been a busy weekend for me. Um, and so neither of us went and saw the Jason Statham movie you boldly announced at the end of last week's
Oh,
show.
I was hoping that was after the show. I was hoping that I hadn't given that one away. Whoops, sorry guys.
As per usual, whenever we have plans and announce them, very often they go awry.
Yeah.
Um, but you have big news
Ye
for
Interesting stuff, interesting news in tabletop games. Well, there's a couple of things that are unrelated, really hit tabletop games this past week. The first one is if you've been anywhere near the internet, you know that certain markets and certain populations are up in arms over President Trump's tariffs announced on basically the whole world. And um, one of the hardest hit um, industries that imports a lot of product from China is game manufacturers, publishers, and game manufacturers. We basically have no printers of cards, books, paper, and um, game components. Every game kickstarted in the past 20 years, basically. Everything's printed in China. Um, so there's a lot of Kickstarters and companies that have seen their uh, profit margins completely obliterated. I was just speaking with an author, self-published author, last night, who told me, yeah, the it, he said, I'm lucky that I priced in a large enough profit margin that um, I'm gonna take a haircut, but I'm not taking a loss, right? A lot of people aren't that lucky. Um, so we'll see how that affects I think we're gonna see fewer super expensive games, Kickstarter games in the near future. Um, but the other thing was big in D&D news, which was uh, just 3 days ago, Chris Perkins, after 28 years of writing for Dungeons and Dragons just retired. So he's done. He announced it on Twitter. He said, I'm done. I'm looking forward to enjoying D&D as a fan." And he's done. Like, he's hanging it up. That's a huge blow to Wizards of the Coast. He did the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide. Like, he was in charge of the story. He wrote, or at least designed the story on Curse of Strahd. I'm sure you've heard of that one.
Yes.
He also was the dungeon master for Acquisitions Incorporated. Do you know about that? The Penny Arcade guys?
Yes.
Yeah, they always ran a live game at the Penny Arcade Expo, and it was a huge thing. They even got their own supplements out of it, which is amazing. So yeah, a big loss there. And then there is an even bigger loss. I got let me see if I can find this tweet here. Do you have anything to say about Chris Perkins while I find this tweet?
Only that he was one of the head people behind pushing the modern audience trend that D&D has been chasing for the last decade or so.
Interesting. Interesting. Because we're not fans of that trend. We've been seeing how they are all about turning Dungeons and Dragons into a lifestyle brand, not just a game, not just a game. And if he was behind that push, maybe more interesting changes. But there's a little more news that sheds a different light on it. Here is a tweet from Mark Kern, Grums on Twitter. He says D&D's future is bleak at Hasbro. Chris Kao, Vice President of Digital Game Development, has left the company. 90% of the digital virtual tabletop team was laid off. And of course, he would be the VP of that team. Which, now, DW, we've been sort of from the bleachers here. We have anticipated that Wizards and Hasbro were going to go all in on digital. Like they had a virtual tabletop system in production or in development and everything. How much money did you say they spent on it?
$30 million.
Good night. Good night. So they've just cut in their losses and dumped the whole team, and we don't have any whys or wherefores yet. But this is huge. This is not the paper side of the business. This is the side of the business that we thought they were going to go all in on, and they just cut it all.
What happened is that this new VTT was going to supposedly link up and mesh with their existing service, which is it D&D Beyond?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you a tale of another company. Back in the 80s and 90s, Apple Computer had a bunch of different teams, each of which were supposed to work on specific parts of the operating system. So they had a QuickTime team, they had a networking team, they had a Core OS team, they had a team for, basically every little part of the system. They had a ClarisWorks team for producing their Office suite, and so on and so forth. Well, what happened is that each of these teams became their own little island. And they became like hostile countries. And they fought back and forth over turf. They fought back and forth over funding, and they constantly refused to share code, share roadmaps, or work together on anything. If there was a strategic roadmap laid out by the CEO or one of the vice presidents that said, okay, we have this new product in mind, and what we need is quick time to work with the networking team, and we also need support from the core OS team, it would never get off the ground because the three teams would refuse to work together. And it severely hampered and almost killed the company. Now, I'm bringing up this story for a reason, because the D&D Beyond team and this new virtual tabletop team behaved in exactly the same way. The
Oh,
virtual tabletop team was supposed to mesh with D&D Beyond, but D&D Beyond refused to give them any code. It refused to tell them how to interface with it, how it worked, how it, what data structures it used for classes or for characters. It refused to give them any information. And so they were basically floundering around in the dark, trying to do their best to set up the graphics, the interface, lighting, modeling, all the things you absolutely need for a VTT, but they didn't have the information they needed to set up data files on how to store character stats, character abilities, monster abilities, hit points, and all the other things you need to track in a VTT so that D&D Beyond characters could be easily represented in this 3D extravagant, no expenses spared VTT. And then those kinds of things are ultimately what killed the project. They just couldn't make it work because the D&D Beyond team refused to play ball. And there was a bunch of other problems too, but that was the core problem. They couldn't make it work the way they wanted to make it work. And the people who were in charge up at top either didn't understand that that was the problem or didn't crack
didn't know how to fix it.
down where they needed to. At that point, if you have the leaders of your D&D Beyond who refuse to play ball, you get them in a meeting and you hold a come to Jesus moment and say, this is the future of our company. And it's hard with a constantly updating project that is live, that players are using. I get that it's hard to have a massive leadership change, but if they're not playing ball with something that you see as absolutely absurdly essential to the future of your company, you absolutely have to do something to get them to work with the VTT team, even if it means pausing development on D&D Beyond and just letting whatever the current version is pause right there and get everybody on the same page, fire the leadership that's being recalcitrant, and get those two teams to merge under one head, or whatever you need to do to get everybody working together. If that takes 6 months, if that takes a year, then you pause D&D Beyond for 6 months or a year. It's much better than pouring $30 million down the hole with nothing to show for it.
And reading between the lines, this would be the guy, right? If this that's what his title actually was, VP of Digital Game Development, he was the guy who was responsible for getting those teams to work together. Like ultimately the success of the product is on him. So, I mean, reading between the lines, if they laid off 90% of the staff, he was definitely politely asked to leave.
Yeah.
Massive failure. And with such a strong brand as D&D, like it's the really the only brand of its kind.
Every single time they've tried to build a Dungeons and Dragons VTT, it has failed. I think they've done it 3 times now. And it's just blown up in their faces every time.
Too bad.
And I'm not trying to put them down. I'm not saying that a VTT is something easy to build, especially if you're building it as a 3D, third person isometric, modern, program game with all the bells and whistles. I'm not saying that's easy. And I'm not trying to imply they're incompetent or anything, or that the team working on it was incompetent. But I'm just saying they have 3 times they've tried, and 3 times it's blown up in their faces. And Bradford Walker says Wizards of the Coast never has the management needed to make a VTT work. It is a management issue. And maybe, being the people they've had in place as CEOs, the people they've had in place as management, none of them have ever been software people. None of them have ever been game people. You need to go and poach somebody from a video game company, or some of these people who have left because Activision did crappy things to their company, or because EA shut down their studio or whatever. There's a lot of talent out there who are good, strong people. You need to bring a game developer or a game development team on board who just got let go by Blizzard, who just got shut down by EA, and say, hey, you know what? We need to develop this game platform. We'd like to hire as many of you as want to come work for us, and these are the things we want to do. It's got to be a lot easier than programming a AAA, first person shooter, and work with a team. If you have to, license Unreal Engine, so that at least you have an already proven engine with support available. I know I'm glossing over a lot of things. I know it's much more complicated than what I'm saying. I know that licensing an engine may be easier in the short term, but it also comes with a lot of its own headaches. You need support from Epic, and you need to hire people who are skilled in working with Unreal Engine. You can't just bring in any game developers. And I know that there's a lot of work to customize Unreal Engine for your specific use case, but it's still it still seems like a better idea to hire game developers than to continue doing what they've done before, which is to have CEOs who don't understand software development, have VPs that don't understand how to manage software teams, multiple software teams who are supposed to be working on the same project, but have wildly different goals in the present. Um, it just it seems like they need to go in a different direction.
Nope, they're doing it. Let's see. I've got some other cool D&D news.
Okay.
I'm going to share another tweet as soon as I find it again. And I want to play this little clip. We don't usually do this sort of thing on the Geek Gab, but this is um, the woman responsible for Shadow Dark, and she's talking about. Well, let's see if we can hear it.
So I think that it's very interesting, and I want to give credit to I guess the bro SR is kind of how
What?
they've titled themselves. I know that there's a writer named Jeffro Johnson. I would also encourage you all to
Who?
maybe read some of the works of Jeffro Johnson and folks who I believe that the corner of the old school is called the bro SR. So
What is going on here? What is she talking about? She's talking about running a Bronstein.
Using one-to-one time.
Using one-to-one time, using her game, Shadow Dark, the one that's kickstarted for millions and millions of dollars. This is amazing. Absolutely amazing to me that she even brought up the bros and mentioned the bros. This is the closest the bros have gotten to sort of mainstream acknowledgement right now. And to speak Jeffro's name himself, he really deserves the thank you, Jeffro, for that. If you want to know more about this, I thought this blew me away just to hear someone outside of the bros just come out and say it. She I heard in an interview she knows Bronstein. She's played the game with David Wesley. She's been in gaming for a long time. She might look like a young just OSR BX hacker, but the truth is she's been writing games for a long, long time. And it's refreshing to hear someone who's actually working with games in the industry as a designer who is insightful enough to actually recognize the work the bros have done. I don't want to oversell it. It's still women's division stuff, but if you want to hear more about this and more talk and advice on doing a Bronstein, or if you want to know more about Shadow Dark and how it can handle, or how you would use it in a Bronstein, go to YouTube if you're not already on YouTube listening to us, and check out the Dunder Moose. This is Dunder Moose channel. She just did a round table on his random table show with a couple of other D&D VTubers, podcasters. What do we YouTubers? D&D YouTubers. I guess that's what they call them. So they did a show. I think it was last night or the night before. Great interview with Kelsey here. Really, really insightful and absolutely inquisitive and willing to give the bros the credit they deserve. So, unlike most D&D YouTube shows, I found it pretty entertaining. Normally I would recommend only the Geek Gab and the Dunder Moose show for any D&D YouTube content. The rest is trash. But what a coup, man. Broisar naming Jeffro Johnson. Thank you, Jeffro.
It is. I guess I finally gotten over the couple of major D&D YouTubers who simply copied Jeffro's work and presented it as their own on YouTube. And then when somebody commented under the video, hey, you just got this from Jeffro Johnson, he deleted the comment. And that kind of ticked me off. But if this proves to be, that was, I think, an admission of guilt that he knew he had ripped it off and that he was trying to hide it. And I think that is, unsportsmanlike. I think that is, pretending that this is something that you personally just noticed or just discovered when all you did was copy someone else's homework, or copy their answers when you're taking the test. I thought that was creepy and disgusting, and I didn't want to. I didn't like it. Let's just put it that way. But seeing Jeffro get finally getting some acknowledgement, seeing the bros getting some acknowledgement is good. They have done a lot of work, and I've been a small part of that, which I'm happy for. They have done a lot of work for working out some of the rules. Fluid the Druid, Brian Reniger on his blog has done a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And I think he doesn't get as much credit as he deserves sometimes for the work he's done.
Let's do it right now. Let's do it right now. I'm gonna put in the thing. Go ahead, keep talking. I'm gonna put his
he's done a lot of work in working out some of the more esoteric areas of D&D mechanics and reverse engineering, where AD&D has, where some like level limits came from, or why pole arms work the way they do, and a lot of other things. And I just think the stuff he does is amazing. I'm constantly amazed by the stuff he comes up with. I mean, I was impressed by myself because I figured out like 2 things like that. And then he goes and spends years filling up an entire blog with things like that. And I'm like, well, okay. I mean, I did do 2 things, but he's got this whole entire blog filled with them. He just has done absolutely incredible work. So, and I'm not trying to take away from anybody else's work in the Bro SR, who's worked on Bronsteins and worked on one-to-one time and things like that. But yeah, he's just I think he doesn't get enough recognition. There's just so many Bro SR people posting, so many Bro SR people playing, so many people posting Bronstein reports and campaign reports and things like that, that his kind of fly under the radar.
Fluid stuff, it on the surface it looks like esoterica. He'll do a blog post that dives into a small aspect of the game, but then he goes in and he sort of shows his work. He does real scholarship on where these rules came from, and I'm actually not caught up. I've got a bunch of these to read. He goes into details on it's not on the first page, but psionics and how they reflect the cosmic horror stories of H.P. Lovecraft and his copycats. he goes in, and so you end up sort of understanding some of the rules better and sort of appreciating where the rules come from and the type of world and game that the rules create.
So anyways,
That's a
check
great
out,
shout out.
yeah, check out his blog. It's got some amazing stuff in there. If you want to find out some of the inner logic of AD&D and why rules that people think are stupid or finicky or don't make sense, why they're actually, low-key genius. So yeah, it's good to see the Bro SR getting some recognition. Good to see Jeffro getting some recognition.
Cool.
All right.
Let's on to the main event then, DW.
Yep. Talk about Pantheon. Okay. Pantheon is about what they call uploaded intelligence. This is not a new idea in science fiction. Back when I bought a copy of GURPS Cyberpunk in 1991, they had the concept in it called brain tapes, which is where you could take someone's mind and turn it into digital information and put it on the net or on a storage medium. And that wasn't even the first time it had appeared in GURPS. That was just reusing an old idea in GURPS and showing how it applied in GURPS Cyberpunk. So that was, 34 years ago. This show came out in 2022. So it has begun sort of bubbling up. So I don't know when the first notion of human minds being put on the net is. I've been reading Tad Williams' Otherlands again. Boy, is that a thick series to get through. It's just monumental, huge. And it has the notion of, human minds on the net, as well as artificial intelligences, things like that. And that's also from the 90s. And so I'm sure there have been stories from before then. I seem to remember stories from the 50s about a robot who had the mind of a woman's boyfriend or husband who was in love with her and was in the mind of a robot. So it's definitely not a new idea in science fiction. In fact, if you want to look at magic or fantasy, I'm sure the notion of putting someone's mind in in some kind of a tree or a statue or something probably goes back thousands of years.
Oh, sure.
So these uploaded intelligences, and I'm going to be giving some spoilers away because in order to understand the review of the series, you have to understand some of the basics of the series. But these are things that are not revealed right at the beginning. So, spoiler alerts.
I
You
love
have
spoilers.
to scan a living person's brain more or less right when they're either while they're still alive or right after their death. And you have to do it layer by layer. So you have to peel their brain open.
That's creepy.
It's really gross. In order to get the pattern of all their neurons scanned and put in the computer. And the big question on the show is, even if you copied someone's brain 100% at the time of death, or you killed them in the process of copying their brain, which you do, but it's a perfect copy of them, is that really them? Or have you just killed them to make a copy of them?
Yeah, this is a really old question. Really, we've seen the story 100 times. Tell me more.
So the show starts off with a girl having to deal with this question and her mom having to deal with this question. And then some of these uploaded intelligences escape and cause global havoc on the internet. And it becomes a matter of international security because no national defense against no national cybersecurity can protect against uploaded intelligences raiding computers or launching missiles or breaking into banks and stealing money or anything. And it's an arms race between countries and uploaded intelligences. And then they start, the person who originally started the project becomes involved in a really strange way. And then the first artificial intelligence gets created and they get involved. And there's clone technology that gets involved. And simulated worlds to hide the upload intelligences from the countermeasures that humans created come into being. And all of these things are kind of tied together and interact in one way or another. So it's a very twisty story. Now, I gleaned from the responses I got on Twitter that not a lot of people super enjoyed the show. I enjoyed watching it, except for like an episode or two in the beginning of the second season. And the ending kind of got too far up its own rear. It tried to get cleverer than it really was. It tried to get deeper than it really was. And the final last bit of the ending was kind of dumb. but mostly I enjoyed the ride. And I have a feeling it's written by somebody called Ken Liu. I don't know who that was. Apparently, it's based on a series of short stories by him. I don't know who he is. I get the feeling that that maybe he's an atheist. And I wonder if he's a Chinese national writing these stories. Because the religious concept of there being an immortal soul that continues on after death, that when you kill a person and upload them, that's just an electronic emulation of them and it's not really them, that it's just a program that's talking like them and seems to be them, but it's not really them. That never really gets mentioned or dealt with in the entire series when they're dealing with all these other issues about uploaded intelligences. Yes, you're killing a person when you make an uploaded intelligence, but if that's not really them, if that's not really their spirit, then then that can't ever really be them. That's a religious point of view that never gets dealt with. Okay, Bradford Walker says he's mainland Chinese.
Sort of lends credence to your intuition there.
So I feel like, and obviously being from mainland China, in order to get published, you can't have that material in your story, even if the person, thought about it or wanted to include it. So I feel like that was something that was left out.
I'm gonna put up the IMDb page for people who are on YouTube. They can check this out. How did you feel about the artwork? I think based on these images and what I'm seeing there, I don't think I would have necessarily started this show. But tell me what you thought. How did you like the animation and the artwork?
I didn't have a problem with it. I mean, it was serviceable. It did the job of portraying the events fine.
Cool.
I mean, it didn't wow me. It didn't make me think, oh my gosh, that's the best artwork I've ever seen, but it didn't strike me as being ugly. And a lot of artwork nowadays from, Disney and other studios is just hideous. But this was fine. Obviously it's not they had a lot of big name voice actors in this too.
Yeah, Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
What happened to that guy?
William Hurt was in it before he passed away.
Yeah, a few interesting people in there.
So, I mean, did the animation look bad to you?
I think some of the clips I just saw, two things jumped out at me. Was some of the animation itself looked good. The art style itself looked a little hired off of Tumblr or Fiverr, and some of the scenes that they chose for the trailer were really bland, generic sci-fi tropes, like the guy with the earpiece, like Steve Jobs, talking about his new, you know, soul-sucking technology at a corporate conference, right? That sort of thing. Um, it looked like they were trying to make it look as unexciting as possible. And some of the other clips were very exciting, like, you know, the whatever that thing was that was sort of morphing into a blob and the big explosions and everything. But um, anyway, so those things jumped out of me as sort of negative qualities. But some of it looked pretty cool.
It's definitely not an action show. It tends towards the more dramatic and philosophical, but it kept it moving enough that I wasn't bored, except for that one. I think it's episode 2 in the second season. That had me worried because I was like, oh no, is this going to turn into one of those shows where it just gets worse and worse and worse? It did not. It recovered after that episode.
Cool.
And I was able to, the rest of season 2 was okay. I mean, I watched it. It didn't make me hate myself or hate life. I guess that's my new bar now for show. I enjoyed it. Oh, yeah. They also got a robot uprising in there.
Love it.
So they were really hitting a lot of different beats.
Gotta hit the tropes.
No zombies, though. So yeah, I can see where people would rate it lower. I would give it a solid B as far as rating a show goes.
All right. Sounds good.
That's on the American system, not the Japanese system.
I'm unfamiliar with the Japanese system.
With the Japanese system where it goes up to S, that you get in all the games.
BAS tier.
Yeah.
I didn't know that's where we got S tier from.
Yeah, that's the Japanese system in their schools.
Man, they always got to do everything so different. Well, that's cool. I'm glad you watched it instead of me. I love good sci-fi stuff, so maybe I'll check it out sometime when I'm bored, because I'm taking a break from Babylon 5. Those filler episodes are really filler. Whew.
I don't remember hating any of the episodes of Babylon 5 I watched.
No, even the bad ones are just sort of TV shows. Well, the only episodes of Babylon 5 that could possibly be bad are the ones that don't feature Londo or Jakar.
Oh, these guys are great.
Yeah. Like, oh, it's an episode about Commander Ivanova. Yay. All right. Anyway. I think we ran out of stuff today, DW.
Oh yeah. I liked it. I would give it a B. Apparently EMCG dropped it after a few minutes.
Oh, Babylon 5, we got some comments. The not an MMA tournament episode, cannot forget it. Yeah. Alien pit fighting. It was like a blood sport, the Kumite on Babylon 5. What was that episode doing there?
Was that an awful episode?
Depends on how you look at it. It's a Garibaldi episode, and Garibaldi's amazing, but the story was a little weird. This washed up prize fighter comes from Earth and joins the alien fist fighting ring and comes out on top after skullduggery and whatever. What is this definitely a story you did not expect to find on Babylon 5? Babylon 5 is Star Trek Voyager Light. Hey,
No.
thanks for listening, but Babylon 5 copied DS9, didn't it? Or DS9 copied B5,
DS9 copied Bab 5.
Bab 5. All right, well, okay, E, your homework then is to sit down and watch some Babylon 5 and Deep Space Nine. I know he's a Voyager fan. He's just stirring up trouble.
I watched. Apparently, I got screwed on my later Star Trek seasons because I watched like the first season of DS9, like all of it.
Okay.
But I never caught anything after that, so I missed all the good DS9.
Right.
And then I watched like the first season of Voyager, and nothing past that. So apparently, I missed all the good episodes because there are no good seasons of Voyager. There's just good episodes of Voyager. Apparently, I missed all the good episodes of Voyager. And then I didn't watch Enterprise. I did actually. I tried to watch Enterprise during my recent difficulties. And I just couldn't get past that guy whining. Even the gorgeous model who they hired to play the Vulcan couldn't convince me to listen to. Is it Trip? Is that his name? The engineer?
Sorry, man. I made it 3 episodes into Enterprise.
And
the only reason I made it to episode 3 was they had a really strong first episode when they made that woman go nude for that one scene. I was like, okay, this is how they're doing it. Well played.
That guy's voice just killed it for me. I couldn't listen to his voice any longer. So I stopped after, I think, the first season. And people say, oh, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff after that. And I'm like, I can't do it.
So what? Not worth it. Yeah, even though I think I mentioned this before, but Babylon 5 was written before it was made, right? The whole thing was plotted out, which is great. But it would have been even better in today's day and age if he had written out 5 or 6 10-episode seasons that are more common on streaming than the full 24, 26 episode season. I think it's 23 per season. Because then you wouldn't need so much filler. Then it could be nothing but all the, the crazy buildup of the interstellar war. But anyway. And any last words, Warpig?
No, a lot of I hear a lot of bad rumbles in the desktop TTRPG community that businesses are going to start going out of business because of the Trump tariffs with China. I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is TTRPG companies just throwing up a panic, whether because they're really panicked or because they're trying to they're just trying to throw a scare into people as a form of propaganda. The CEO of Steve Jackson Games said that the Chinese tariffs, literally, this is a letter they posted, an official announcement on Twitter. They said that they had a $1.25 increase on the cost of a book. That's what the tariffs were going to cause, a $1.25 increase on the cost of a book. And so they had to increase their price on the book by $15. Now, I don't know how that maths. That math ain't mathin' for me. But if the price of a rule book goes up $1.25 because of Trump's tariffs, I don't see how that equals 95% of the industry going out of business.
Yeah.
Um,
It depends on your profit margins, really. So here's the kicker. Here's the kicker about the maybe not Steve Jackson games. Maybe they don't have this exact problem, but one of the key things is that tariffs are due on product as they arrive, and so
yes.
product that was paid for over the past 12, 24 months that is arriving in the next couple of weeks, a lot of these companies may not have cash on hand. So it's not necessarily one of those things there, oh, my business model doesn't work anymore.
This,
It might be an immediate short-term bankruptcy. Just,
this is what
oh, we went from being able to keep the lights on to we're dead.
short-term bank loans are for. You borrow when you don't have enough cash on hand to do something short term, and you pay them back. You know, after you get more cash coming in, if you don't have it right now, or even long term.
I see. Yeah. So yeah, it's like you said, not buying it.
There are credit instruments for precisely these sorts of problems. Now, the tabletop RPG industry has done its level best to drive away a major component of its fan base over the last 10 years. They have been deliberately producing product that tells lots of its major buyers to get lost. That is, deliberately revolting to those buyers. And I point to D&D Next, or whatever we're supposed to call it. What is it now? D&D.
I think it's just Dungeons and Dragons. They came out with the Dungeon Master's Guide 2024, and I don't think they've increased the version number.
That's it. D&D 2024. That's what people are calling it. Because it is different from D&D 5e, but they didn't increase the edition number. So it's D&D 2024. Okay. The art, the rules content, getting rid of races, getting rid of attribute modifiers for races. Basically, the whole thing is designed for a brand new modern audience that is not the people who have been the backbone of the TTRPG industry since it was invented. So I understand if these businesses are short on cash. But if they're short on cash because they have been throwing away customers left and right, that's kind of their fault, if you see what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
And if companies are on the razor's edge of survival because of things they elected to do, because of ideology or other things, then that's a situation that they could have dealt with before. And it's a situation where, what do they say? The crows come home to roost? No, what's that saying?
Oh, chickens come home to roost.
The chickens have come home to roost. So I'm not saying I'm laughing at them, because I'm not. And I'm not saying I'm overjoyed at this, because I'm not. I think it's a horrible thing. I'm not happy they're going out of business. I'm just pointing out this is a foreseeable consequence that other people have been talking about for a while. There's even a saying. So it is unpleasant. It's unhappy, but they chose to make themselves vulnerable when, one, they decided to print in China, and two, they decided to drive away a large portion of their customer base. I don't know if it's the majority portion, but they chose to focus on a phantom customer base. I mean, D&D literally said, we can't kick out white males fast enough.
Yeah.
Well, if they're no longer buying your product, now you know why. And if that makes your profit margins go down because they're no longer buying your product, and the tariffs make it hard for you to sell your product, or hard for you to pay for your product in customs, and then make you have to increase your costs, which obviously increasing your costs affects the supply demand curve, yada yada. So some of these businesses probably are going to go under. And I do genuinely feel sad for those people. But maybe the industry will choose to reorient itself towards the people who are its customer base, and not towards imaginary audiences who don't exist. And to the extent that some of them are out there, they don't buy things anyway. They're loud on the internet, but they don't cough up money. So
That's true. It's true.
It's
They're never actually your customers.
I believe they call this a teachable moment. So, all right.
I think that's a great time to end it. Thanks so much for chatting again, Daddy Warpig. Awesome stuff for this week. I'm glad we had a lot of cool, interesting news to talk about. And I do hope everybody who listens to this later really enjoys the discussion. And when you're done here listening to us, as soon as we're off the air, go check out the This Is Dunder Moose Show, best D&D interviewer on YouTube. Have a good night, Daddy Warpig. Take us away.
All right, folks. This has been Geek Gab for Monday, April 7th, 2024. We do this just about every week at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/geekgab. Once again, that's youtube.com/geekgab. We're available also on the iTunes Store, soundcloud.com, and the Google Play Store. Just do a search for Geek Gab. You can subscribe to us on the device of your choice, listen to us on the web, or download it to your computer. We're available in all those places because we're just that awesome. And so are you. We are signing off for today, but don't you worry, don't you fret. We will be back.